The Abolish Slavery National Network was officially founded on August 28, 2020, by a collection of activists from multiple states, including Colorado, New Jersey, South Carolina, California, New York, Alabama, Georgia, Utah, and Nebraska. In 2018, through a voter ballot initiative, Colorado became the first state in U.S. history to successfully remove their slavery exception clause from the state constitution. They were also the first state to ever attempt to do so in 2017 through another ballot initiative that failed by less than 1%. This was followed in 2020 by overwhelmingly successful voter initiatives in Utah and Nebraska, then again in 2022 when Vermont, Oregon, Alabama, and Tennessee joined the ranks of states that explicitly forbid the state from using slavery and involuntary servitude as a punishment for crime or otherwise. More recently, in 2024, Nevada became the 8th state to remove any exceptions for slavery from their state constitution, bringing us to a total of 9 states where slavery is not protected as an institution by the state constitution. Rhode Island did it in 1843. At this time, the ASNN has helped organize over 30 states to follow suit in the coming years, helped initiate multiple class action lawsuits by challenging the badges and incidents of slavery, and provided educational opportunities on modern slavery abolition across the country. The idea of removing slavery exception clauses from federal constitutions and 25 state constitutions traces back to Frederick Douglass, who publicly warned of the exception clause's imminent dangers in 1865 when William Lloyd Garrison moved that the American Anti-Slavery Society should be disbanded on the grounds that the 13th Amendment had been ratified by a sufficient number of states. The results of allowing that exception to exist was seen almost immediately with the use of convict lease systems, where Black people and Black life were criminalized through Black code laws, pig laws, vagrancy laws, and Jim Crow laws, then returned to slavery under the 13th Amendment exception clause, where they were often worked to death in mines, on railroads, and even on plantations where they were formerly enslaved. They could be arrested for any reason, convicted in all white courts, sent to a prison, then leased out under inhumane and horrible conditions to private industries. Not only did convict leasing become the immediate successor of chattel slavery, it was used to remove any and all rights allowed by the 14th and 15th Amendments. Convicted individuals couldn't vote, often for life, nor did they enjoy the same protected rights as any other citizen under the rest of the Constitution. It wasn't until 1964 that a Civil Rights Bill was passed, and then the Voting Rights Act in 1965, both of which are being systematically dismantled today, 100 years after the ratification of the 13th Amendment and 97 years after the 14th and 15th Amendments. Many historians believe that the system of convict leasing was worse than slavery. During chattel slavery, there was some concern for the health and welfare of those enslaved humans who were reduced to property. Sickness or death would render said property useless and cause a loss in revenue generation. Under convict leasing, the sentiment was, one dies, get another. It was simple to go arrest someone else and railroad them into a conviction using all white juries and judges. The average lifespan of those subjected to convict leasing was about 10 years. Everything that would occur to them under the former system happened under the new system, and worse. In 1888, Frederick Douglass was asked to speak in Washington, D.C. on the anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. He gave what is arguably the most important speech of his life, leaving no stone unturned, telling the truth to a nation that refused to listen and instead buried those powerful words and prophetic words delivered on that day. No students would learn it in schools. No teachers, preachers, or philosophers would examine the text. His words on that occasion would be stricken from history as if he had never said them. The man who was the key figure in both the Emancipation and the 13th Amendment. Why? It's all in the title. And the title is, I Denounce This So-Called Emancipation as a Stupendous Fraud. If you've never read it, you should. ASAP. Others have dreamed the dream of finally abolishing slavery without exception. Ida B. Wells talked about this new form of slavery in her speech delivered at the World's Columbian Exposition in 1893. Assata Shakur wrote about it in her autobiography. Lee Woods founded CAPS, the Committee Against Prison Slavery, on the premise of the 13th Amendment exception. He also wrote the book Prison Slavery in the 13th Amendment, published in 1980. Angela Davis has written and spoke on the 13th Amendment punishment clause in great detail, calling for a 21st century abolitionist movement. A good number of others have strived to help educate the population regarding this ongoing crime against humanity, this new iteration of slavery, a system so normalized that in 2020, Worth Rises did a poll which showed less than 20% of the U.S. population even knew that the 13th Amendment allowed for slavery and involuntary servitude as a punishment for crime, let alone that 25 other states also adopted such wicked exceptions. So, here we are today, in the nation with the largest prison population to ever exist, where nearly 40% of the prisoners come from less than 7% of the general population. A prison size which is growing daily by population and inclusivity through the criminalization and incarceration of other marginalized groups, the homeless, immigrants, the disabled, and children, where taxpayers are being sucked dry to finance their own oppression as states' prison systems and private prison industries make billions upon billions exploiting actual slavery, warehousing human beings for profit and control, working them for free in modern convict leasing schemes, going so far as to recreate an international slave trade by paying foreign nations to house deportees and even American citizens outside the country and away from any constitutional rights they might have had, exporting humanity to poor nations scrambling to get paid in US dollars. Ethics, morals, and international laws be damned. On August 28, 2025, the Abolish Slavery National Network will be a mere 5 years old. In that half-decade, they have accomplished what many thought was impossible, over and over, doing what no one has ever successfully done before, fulfilling the dreams of those who came before us, walking the path to liberation laid by their ancestors and riding on the shoulders of giants. The future is now. Keep your eyes on us. We're already in the next stages. Join us in Sumter, South Carolina at the Paul Cuffee Abolitionist Center this Saturday, August 30th at 3 p.m. as we celebrate those unsung heroes, the members of the Abolish Slavery National Network. You can find information at abolishslavery.us. Peace.